Well, the writing was on the wall this time last week. We heard rumors and reports that the boosters at the University of Florida were thinking about this being Billy Napier's last game. This game being the game played on Saturday against Mississippi State. Florida got the win, but Napier got the boot. 22 and 23 and 45 games there in Gainesville. And once again, Florida is on the search for a new head football coach. Welcome to Southeast Sports Plus. I'm Gerhard Mathangani, joined by Patrick Walsh. Patrick, this is one of those things where it's not necessarily too surprising given what we heard going into the Mississippi State game. And then you watch the Mississippi State game, and they were lucky to get away with a win. There were errors all over that football game. It kind of marks what we have seen from this football team. I say since the beginning of the season, but really since the beginning of his tenure here. What do you make now of yet another P4 job opening in college football?
Well, you know, I think I said this after week 3, after week 2, after the USF loss. I was like, you know, there's just no coming back from it, because if you looked at the schedule ahead for Florida at the time, there were 5 tough games against 5 very tough opponents, and I believe they ended up going 1-4 over those 5 games, with the only win coming against Texas. So we talked about it last week. We had heard rummaging around boosters, potentially looking to go in a different direction with the program. You know, it was kind of awkward watching the press conference on Saturday night, because it was like he knew, and he talked about just going home and just eating and trying to take it day by day.
Right.
I mean, it felt like everyone, it almost felt like a farewell tour.
Yeah, it did. And there was a lot of, I think, not just the talk going into it, but you mentioned the talk after the South Florida game, and it felt like they would need a miracle in order to be able to keep him. And it looked like the opening stages of that miracle was the big win over Texas at home. And it looked like, okay, well, he can salvage not only this season, but salvage his job moving forward. You and I happened to be watching the game together on Saturday, and we were with Simone as well. And one of the things that you said, we didn't have the audio on. The audio was on a different game, but one of the things that you said was, I wonder how Florida fans will feel about this. And then you got the reports on the way out of the stadium. Billy Napier was getting booed. Getting booed after a win over Mississippi State in conference play. It just signaled their frustration, and they were like, hey, even though we won, it doesn't mean we need to keep this guy. So once again, they're on the hunt for a new guy.
You know, I had a feeling going into the game. I think I said this to you. I was like, do you think Florida fans want to win the game more or lose the game more so that way they can get their coaching change? And honestly, you bring up a good point. They should have lost that game if it weren't for Blake Shapen throwing an erroneous interception well inside field goal range that would have won them the game. I am still shocked that they called a pass play
in that
with
situation.
like 30 seconds left.
Down by 2.
Down by 2. You're on the Florida 36 or whatever it was. Just run the ball once, get up, clock it when it gets down to like 4 seconds, and then kick your field goal. I'd much rather lose a football game like that. Rather than, let's just throw an interception and just lose that way and watch Florida kneel it out.
Exactly, so for the details on this, everybody wants to know as soon as the coach gets fired, is what are the numbers here? So it looks like Florida will owe Billy Napier $21 million. Some of that will be due in the next 30 days. The other ones will be paid out in 3 annual installments starting next summer. So it is not as crazy, it's not as big as the James Franklin buyout, north of $48 million. It seems like a pretty standard buyout, but once again, they'll be paying 3 coaches for the second time in, I guess, a half decade now, because they still owe Dan Mullen money, and then they'll be paying Billy Napier, and they'll be paying their new head coach. The same thing happened back in the day with Will Muschamp and Jim McElwain, and then when they hired Dan Mullen for that job as well. So it's a really interesting situation for Florida, because Florida considers themselves, and I think rightfully so, a program that should be contending for playoff spots and national championships every single year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, whoever they hire next, which I might give my prediction coming up here in the next few minutes. But it just felt like once Penn State fired James Franklin, they basically gave Florida the okay to. I mean, that firing, the fallout is still going to be felt a couple weeks from now, especially looking around the SEC. I mean, I don't think Shane Beamer's going anywhere, but you know there are some fans calling for him. But I mean, we knew Billy Napier coming into the year. If it weren't for a crazy finish and DJ Lagway last year, he probably would have been gone last year. But you know, I'm going to bring up that prediction. I think there's going to be someone that makes a trip right up the Florida Turnpike there. And takes the job. I don't know.
I think there's. I mean, obviously there's one name that might be the name that's circling around in your head. There's one name that all the Florida fans want, and people will ask if it is going to be feasible to be able to get this guy? I don't know. I think with enough money, maybe. But you would have to think, though, when you look at the landscape of college football, and there still could be more firings to come. I think a lot of people thought that there was a guy on the Plains that would get fired as well, but he still has his job. Hugh Freeze doing his press conference today, but there's a lot of fan outcry on social media and elsewhere about him being able to keep his job. But when you think about the college football landscape right now and the jobs that will be open, Florida has to vault to the #1 spot as far as a pure attractiveness for other coaches.
I think before Florida fired Billy Napier, it was Penn State. Now Florida becomes that #1 job. I still think Penn State's the #2 job. Arkansas is the #3, and then Virginia Tech and Oklahoma State go 4, 5, as you can see the notable Power 4 head coach vacancies up here. But I'd be interested to see who you think would be the next head coach.
Okay, so I think what Florida would want, and the kind of guy that has had success at the University of Florida is usually an offensive mind. Urban Meyer, Steve Spurrier, a guy that's fiery, has his own personality, and that points to one guy. There's a guy in Ole Miss right now, Lane Kiffin, who I think would be their guy. I think we learned a lot in the documentary that came out a few weeks ago about Lane Kiffin and where he is right now. He seems settled right now. I think the question now is, does Lane Kiffin see Ole Miss at a ceiling, and has he reached that ceiling? That I don't know, and I think that it'll take some still playing out here, because this is a team still right there in the thick of things as far as it comes to a college football playoff.
Oh yeah,
and can they take that, use the momentum, and go in a national championship? Yeah, for sure. I think if you're Florida, though, you're thinking we're a better job than Ole Miss, and I think history will tell you, hey, if there is one program on the Division I level, on the Power 4 level, that can win it at multiple sports, it is Florida. Florida's done it in football. They've done it in basketball, sometimes the same year. They've done it in baseball as well. So I think that they would love Lane Kiffin. I'm not sure where Lane Kiffin is right now, if he would actually go, but who's to say no?
I feel like you got to watch how the rest of the season plays out for Ole Miss.
Yeah.
When I was watching that Georgia game the other day, I was like, okay, the offense is on fire, but the defense can't get a stop at all. Which leads me to believe there might be a deeper issue here around the Ole Miss program. And I mean, Florida does have more money, let's just face it, than Ole Miss does. So Florida, you have a better recruiting area. You can recruit in state. You can get some dogs, as Deion Sanders likes to say, on defense. And Lane Kiffin's just going to have a good offense wherever he goes.
For sure.
But I think if he stays at Ole Miss, he stays in Oxford, which I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I think you got to go after Alex Golesh. Down at USF.
I mean, one of the guys that knocked you off at the beginning of the year, and he's going to be one of the hot names out of the group of 5. You think about a guy like John Sumrott. Tim Lane will be another guy that's a hot name coming out of the group of 5 as well. You would figure one of those two guys will land one of these top jobs here. Even the guy at Memphis, Silverman. I think he'll be a hot candidate as far as the group of 5 coaches go. And then there's the guys that are in the Power 4 right now that are not head coaches, that are assistant coaches. We'll see if any of them get a look at some of these top 5 jobs here going into the season. We got a chance to hear from the Florida Athletic Director Scott Strickland, getting out ahead of this story and talking about what is next for the Florida Gators.
My sense is we will have a wide variety of candidates. We want people who can win championships at the University of Florida. That's going to be our goal. We want somebody who can come in here, be a strong leader, and win championships. And like I said, there's probably people from a lot of different backgrounds that could have the potential to do that. It is tricky. There are 3 current coaches in college football who have won national championships. So unless one of those 3 decide that they want to come and we think they're the right fit, we're going to have to be making a projection somewhere along the line. And sometimes you find that person, and we've had instances here where we've brought people in, and my guess is most of the coaches who have won national titles at the University of Florida across various sports, I don't know this for a fact, but my guess is the first time they ever won one was at the University of Florida. So we need to find somebody who can come in here and join that list. Well, time is an asset, and you would, certainly I think that's going to be beneficial. The more time you have, the easier it is. One of the unique things about these high-profile positions, searches like football, like maybe men's basketball, is usually those are the time to make those searches is compressed. And I've been usually there, you know what, you have a week or two and you feel there's some kind of impending date that you want to get it to because it's a, portal opening up or signing day occurring or whatever. We have a little bit more time in this circumstance. Signing day isn't till the first week in December. Portal doesn't open until January. And, we have a chance to be very thorough.
So that is Scott Strickland at today's press conference right before Billy Gonzalez, who is going to be the interim head coach, had his press conference. Obviously, a lot to answer there for Scott Strickland, looking for and gave all the platitudes, he said all the right things as far as some of the guys he wants moving forward.
Yeah, and I don't think this is going to be the last time we're going to see an athletic director anytime soon give one of these addresses. I know we saw Penn State last week, and it feels like who's it going to be next week, and then who's it going to be the week after
that.
But, I mean, speaking of fired head coaches, that interview that Game Day did with James Franklin, that kind of opened my eye a little bit. First of all, I'm surprised he even did it. I wonder. It makes you wonder: is it because of his contract with his buyout, where he's got to be actively pursuing something?
Yeah,
but, I mean, or he could have just used it as like a promotional standpoint.
Honestly, I think it's probably a little blend of both between him and what he's trying to do. If this is his first step in getting that media job that he wants to go for and collect the buyout money after that. I think he'd be good on television. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. He's got that personality. I think that interview or the conversation he had there, breaking his silence, kind of led a lot towards what he might be going to in the future. Meanwhile, Florida knocked off Mississippi State. Billy Gonzalez will be the interim head coach for the Florida Gators as they look for somebody to lead the Gators down in Gainesville.